The tape arrives after midnight. Hey, night listener. Tonight, we enter the shadows. The streetlights flicker like nervous thoughts. Rain beads on your windshield, trickling like confessions no one meant to say. A slow night, until the envelope appears. No knock, no footsteps, just a manila rectangle dropped through your mail slot like a secret someone wants to forget. The handwriting on it, yours, but you didn't write it. You're sure of that. If this story found you, maybe it's because you've been followed too. You peel the seal with a caution that feels like instinct. Inside, just a single cassette. No label, no return address. So, before we vanish into this mystery, like the video and subscribe only if you can handle the truth buried beneath the lies. Comment where you're listening from and whether you're drawn to the truth, the thrill, or the justice. Now, lock your doors, take a deep breath, and follow me into the dark. You don't trust the way the air shifts as the tape clicks into the deck. The hiss, the low rumble before the voice comes. Not just any voice, his. Let me start by saying I did it. I killed her. The sound quality is rough, but the words are unmistakable. It's him, Jordan Mace, the man you hunted for 9 years, the one who vanished with a trail of blood and a history of silence. You slam pause. Jordan Mace has been dead 5 years, and you buried the autopsy report yourself. You rewind, play it again. The same breath, the same drawl. That infuriating tone like he's always been 2 steps ahead. I buried the key under the floorboards, right beneath the radiator. You'll find it there, like I said I would. You freeze, because you did find a key there last year. Unlabeled, corroded, no prints. You never logged it. You didn't tell anyone. So, how does a dead man confess to hiding something you never revealed? You listen on. I didn't mean for her to die. I just wanted her quiet. But once the blood hit the mirror, it changed everything. You jot that line down. Mirror, blood, silence. The case file never mentioned a mirror, but there was glass found in the autopsy, a shard they couldn't place. You didn't connect it. You should have. You rewind again, scanning for falsity, for tricks. But it's him, down to the stammer when he says sorry, like the word burns in his mouth. He keeps going. I told you once before, truth is only useful if someone listens. You stopped listening, and then, like a parting threat. But if you're hearing this now, maybe someone else started. You pause the tape, your heart's racing. Your reflection in the rain-slick window is warped, stranger than you expect. You told yourself this case was buried, that some justice is better than none. But this tape, it didn't just solve the crime. It reopened the lie you've been living with. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who write the reports. It was never about the confession. It was about who was still watching when it ended. His voice shouldn't exist. You don't sleep. You don't even try. The tape spins again in your mind, unraveling what you thought you buried. You pace between the shadows of your apartment, half hoping this is a prank, a sick joke, something your guilt dreamed up and mailed to itself. But you know that voice. You've spent years listening to interviews, interrogations, voicemail recordings, even a grainy 2004 4th of July barbecue tape where Jordan Mace sang off-key behind a fireworks stand. His voice is tattooed into the back of your skull. You could pick it out in a hurricane, and it's him, which makes one thing painfully clear. Something you buried came back. Your desk is still covered in the old file. Case number 1783B. Julia Merrow. Missing. Presumed murdered. No weapon. No confession. No closure. You thought you'd put it away for good. But now, Jordan Mace's voice is resurrecting ghosts you told yourself were at rest. You press play again, not because you want to, because you can't not. You think it ended with her. It didn't. That's why I'm telling you this. Not to clear my name, but to settle yours. Settle. Not absolve. Not confess. Settle. It's a word that smells like smoke and compromise. Your hand goes to the pen beside the file. But it's not your pen. It's an older model. Police issue. Issued years ago. And engraved faintly on its barrel. J.M. You didn't bring it here. You don't remember ever seeing it. But the weight of it in your palm feels intentional. Like someone left it for you to find. You open your laptop, search the digital archives for any mention of posthumous recordings. Jordan's name, case number 1783B. Nothing updated, nothing added, but your inbox pings. One new message. Subject line, you missed a page. No sender, no reply button, just a JPG attachment. You hesitate but open it. It's a scan of an interview transcript, one that doesn't exist in the official file. Interviewee Julia Merrow. Date to 2 days after her recorded death. Your breath catches. The document is old, scanned poorly, but you can make out the line. He wasn't alone. I saw someone else, in uniform. You scroll down. There's a signature at the bottom. Familiar. Yours. You stare at it, trace the lines, and feel a chill settle in your spine that hasn't visited in years because you didn't interview her. You never met her, or so you've told yourself. But the paper disagrees. And Jordan's voice still echoes from the cassette. I wasn't the only one there, but I'm the only one who stayed buried. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who live in the footnotes. It was never about solving the case. It was about exposing who wrote it. The missing minute. No one notices. You scrub the tape again, slow and surgical. The confession plays in full until it doesn't. There's a moment, 59 minutes and 12 seconds in, when the static sharpens. A kind of sonic snap. Then nothing. Not a breath. Not a rustle. Just absence. For exactly 1 minute. No hiss. No ambient sound. No background hum. It's not silence. It's erasure. You rewind. Play it again. 59 to 12. Snap. Dead air. 60. 12. Jordan resumes. Mid-thought. And that's why the glove never made it into evidence. What glove you flipped through the file. No glove mentioned. No glove logged. No glove recovered. But suddenly, the image flashes in your head. Crime scene photo. 14B. A nightstand. A cracked lamp. A smear of blood. A scrap of fabric curled near the floor. You dismissed it as debris. But now, you scan the original image. Blow it up. Zoom in. A leather glove. Black. Left hand. Folded at the wrist like someone slid it off in a rush or with regret. You check the evidence manifest. No glove. You check the chain of custody log. No glove. You check your notes. Your own handwriting. No useful fibers. No prints. Irrelevant. Irrelevant. You stare at that word until it stops making sense. Until it unravels into something it was never meant to be. Because if it was irrelevant, why did Jordan mention it 5 years after his death? And what the hell is in that missing minute? You reach for your backup tape deck, the forensic one with real-time pitch and waveform analysis. You play the missing minute through it, and this time, you catch it. Not sound, not voice, frequency, a layered, low pulse at 53. How does human adjacent, heartbeat adjacent, like something recorded a recording of someone listening, not speaking, not confessing, just there. Almost like someone wanted to leave a trace without leaving a voice, a presence. You check the background waveforms on the rest of the tape. It's the only section that matches your own biological signature, your breath rate, your heartbeat, your rhythm. It's like you were there, in that silence, listening, but you weren't. Were you? The glove? The transcript you don't remember? The pen that isn't yours? The interview with a woman you never met? You open your bottom drawer. Remove the locked case you haven't touched in years. Inside is a stack of files labeled temporals, cases that had memory lapses, officer reports that contradicted witness testimony, but somehow made it through anyway. Your name is on half of them, and next to one case, Burr 1783B, is a sticky note. One line, in your own handwriting: do not pursue. You don't remember writing it, but it's there, and it's in ink that hasn't faded. You press play on the tape again, right at the end of the missing minute. And this time, when Jordan speaks, you swear his tone has changed. You can stop pretending now. We both know who redacted the minute. You freeze. The air around you goes tight, because the only person who had access to that master copy was you. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who wear badges and call it protection. It was never about a missing minute. It was about what you chose to erase. A photograph in the wrong frame. The photograph wasn't in the official evidence log. You're sure of it. But now, somehow, it's here, tucked behind the cassette case. Inside a secondary envelope. You missed the first time. No label, no fingerprints, no dust, just clean edges and a truth someone clearly wanted you to find. You slide the photo out, and your heart forgets how to beat. It's Julia Merrow, her unmistakable auburn hair, parted slightly off-center, the faint scar under her chin, exactly where it was described in the autopsy. Except she's smiling, and she's alive. Not just alive laughing. The photo captures her mid-motion, turning towards someone just off frame. She's holding a small object. You squint. A black glove, left-handed. The same glove Jordan mentioned. The same glove you dismissed. But here she is, holding it casually in what looks like a kitchen. This isn't a crime scene photo. This is intimate, personal, recent. You flip the picture over. There's handwriting on the back. Frame 17. Not meant for you. Yet. And beneath that, the timestamp, dated 2 weeks after her recorded time of death. No, no. This has to be doctored, forged. Some elaborate setup. But the lighting, the composition, this was taken with your camera. Not a model like it. Yours, the same one you loaned to forensics 7 years ago and never got back. You checked the equipment sign-out logs. No record of return, just a note. Held for internal review, J.M. Your initials, but again, not your handwriting. A different J.K.M. Julia Merrow. You check her background again. Family, school records, employment, and there, buried deep in her university files, she worked as a forensic intern for your precinct during her sophomore year. You never knew that. Or maybe you forgot. But the records don't lie. Unless they were made to. You turn back to the photograph. Zoom in on the background, where the edge of the countertop ends and a fridge begins. On the fridge, held up by a small magnet, is another photo. This one blurred, but you can make out the figures. One of them is Jordan. The other is you, standing side by side, smiling. You drop the photo. It flutters to the floor like a confession no one had the nerve to say out loud. Because it's impossible. It can't exist. You never met Julia in person. You never took that photo. And yet, there it is. Time stamped. Tangible. You rewind the confession tape again and listen to a detail you'd glossed over before. We thought we were doing the right thing, Julia and me. But then it got too big, too heavy. And when the picture came out, we knew someone would notice. Now you have, and someone else knows it, too, because your cell buzzes with a new message. Frame 18 next. You're not done remembering. No number, no name, no reply. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who look directly into the lens. It was never about the picture. It was about what you refused to see. Her eyes said no. Her words, yes. You remember her face before you remember her name. It's always the eyes wide, unblinking, carrying a truth no voice could ever bear. Julia Merrow's sister, Claire, answers the door with a look that says, "You're late, but not unexpected." You say you're following up on the old case. She doesn't nod, doesn't speak, just opens the door wide enough to let you in, then disappears down a hallway wrapped in silence. The house smells like dust, chamomile, and time that refuses to move on. Claire returns with a box worn cardboard, medical tape sealing the edges like stitches. She sets it on the table without ceremony. She sent me this a week after they said she died. The box is postmarked from out of state. You scan the label. Julia's name, Julia's handwriting. Claire folds her arms. They told me it was a prank, that someone forged it. But that's her script. Always loop the Y in Merrow like a hook. You open the box. Inside, a folded map with 3 red X's marked across the county. A photograph of Julia sitting on a motel bed, holding today's newspaper. A short note. I'm safe. Don't tell anyone. Not yet. And a black left-hand glove, balled tight. You pick it up. Same stitching as the one from the photograph. Same weight. Claire watches you like a hawk. Why are you really here? You hesitate, because someone's undoing everything. Starting with your sister. She nods once, like she already knew. Her voice stays low. Julia told me once, if it ever gets loud, don't trust what they say. Trust how it feels. You pull the map closer. One red X sits on a motel you recognize burned down 3 years ago in an accidental fire. You ask about the other 2. Claire shrugs. She said they weren't safe. One of them had mirrors that watched. Your pulse flinches at that word. Mirrors. Again. You glance toward the hallway mirror near her staircase. It's covered in black cloth. You ask about it. It cracked. One morning. No impact. Just split down the middle. She uncovers it, reluctantly. You stare at your reflection. Only, it's delayed. Half a second off. You move. It hesitates, then mimics. You step back. Claire's voice sharpens. She told me mirrors record what the mind forgets. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who can't remember clearly. It was never about the words she wrote. It was about the fear in her eyes when she said the opposite. The clock that skipped a beat. You return to the station archive room under the guise of routine. No one questions you anymore. Maybe they should. Rows of silent boxes greet you like gravestones. Dead cases, forgotten timelines, ghosts of justice suspended in folders. You unlock the metal cabinet labeled Surveillance Archive C and pull the original interview footage of Jordan Mays from the night he was first brought in. Before he vanished, before the case unraveled, you load the file onto the secure terminal. A grainy black and white feed lights up the screen. Jordan sits in the interrogation room, wrists chained to the table, his eyes dancing somewhere between defiance and amusement. You fast forward to the 41-minute mark. That's when things shift. The tape stutters only for a moment. Your eyes drift to the wall clock above his head. Time 12:48, then 2:14:03. It jumps 1 minute and 15 seconds. No cut, no glitch elsewhere in the file. Just gone. You rewind, watch again. Still missing. You isolate the footage and slow it, frame by frame. At frame 726, the minute hand begins to twitch. Not click, twitch, like it's resisting something. You zoom in. The clock's reflection, captured faintly in the polished chrome of Jordan's cuffs, tells a different story. It doesn't jump. It stops. At 2:13:00, the reflected clock remains perfectly still, while the wall clock skips ahead. Two timelines, two clocks. And then something even stranger. When the minute hand twitches, Jordan blinks, as if triggered by it. His entire posture stiffens, like he hears something no one else can. You scan the audio log. During that gap, no anomalies are noted, but you run the background frequency filter again. There it is, 53 Hz, the same silent pulse from the cassette tape's missing minute. A heartbeat. Yours, someone else's, the room's. You don't know. What you do know is this. Jordan didn't seem surprised, like he expected the jump, anticipated it, like he'd already lived through it once. You check the room log from that night. Notes scribbled by Officer Lanning, who monitored the interview. Room temp dropped abruptly during questioning. Clock malfunctioned. In-house tech dismissed issue as battery fault. But beneath that, indifferent ink JM requested no mirrors in interview rooms moving forward. You assumed that meant Jordan Mays, but your initials are JM2. You flip to the back of the form. Someone's written time bends when the truth resists it. It's not signed. Your phone buzzes in your pocket. Unknown number. No caller ID. You answer. Nothing. Just one soft sound. A ticking. Then a whisper. Check the glove. The line goes dead. You pull the black glove from your bag and turn it inside out. Tucked deep in the lining, a scrap of photo paper. On it, a zoomed-in image of the interrogation room clock. Time, Tote, Dern, in the background. Standing in the shadow behind the two-way glass, you, watching. But you weren't working that night. You were off shift, weren't you? You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who claim time always moves forward. It was never about the clock. It was about when reality blinked and you let it. The witness who never testified. You never saw her name in the witness file before? Marris Dent, age 28, former receptionist at the Riverside Suites, where Jordan Mace was last seen before disappearing. The motel burned down 6 months later, faulty wiring, they claimed. But now, her name appears on a copy of the original report, tucked in your own notes, in your handwriting, except you don't remember ever writing it. You call the number listed beside her name, expecting a disconnected tone. Instead, a ring, then a voice. I told them once, I'm not doing it again. You ask if she remembers the night of Jordan's stay. She pauses. I remember everything. That's the problem. You identify yourself. That name doesn't mean what it used to, she says flatly. She agrees to meet. 1 hour. Abandoned community center on Ash Lane. You arrive early. The building is barely standing graffiti. Broken windows. Silence, thick enough to slice. A single light burns above the stage like an eye that never closes. Marisol waits on the edge of a folding chair. arms crossed, coat zipped high. She looks past you when you enter, as if someone else was expected to. "You're later than you should be," she says, "but right on time." She hands you a folder before you even ask. Inside, a receipt for a security deposit signed by Jordan Mace, a grainy photograph of Julia Merrow and Jordan entering room 14, and a handwritten note on yellow paper. He wasn't guilty, but he was dangerous. You look at Marisol. Her eyes haven't moved. She stares into the corner of the room, an empty corner. She was alive when he left. I saw her get into the car with someone else. You ask who? Her lips tremble. Then she whispers, "Someone in uniform." Same phrase as the fabricated Julia transcript. He had a patch on his shoulder. Same one you used to wear. You feel the chill crawl up your spine. Marisol leans forward. "You were there that night." You deny it. She nods slowly. "I know. You don't remember." That's how they made it work. You ask who they is. The ones who delete, the ones who edit, the ones who listen in the silence and make you think it was your own thought. She takes out an object wrapped in cloth, places it in your hand. You unwrap it. A cracked mirror shard, etched on the back, 7:03 p.m. The truth looked like you. You don't know what that means, but something deep inside does. Your phone buzzes. Another message. She was never supposed to speak. Neither were you. You look up, but Marisol is already gone. No exit footsteps. No door sound. Just the sound of the building settling back into its quiet. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who never make it to court. It was never about the testimony. It was about whose memory got edited before the story could be told. The key you never remember losing. You find it tucked under your windshield wiper. A single silver key, heavy in your palm, warm like it's just been held by someone else. No note, no tag, just the number, 315 engraved in faint, trembling script. You check your surroundings. No footsteps in the wet gravel. No figures loitering across the street. But you know what paranoia smells like, and it's settling into your lungs fast. Back in your car, you hold the key up to the light. Old motel-style cut, jagged teeth. Could be a storage unit, a locker, a forgotten hotel door. But you recognize the etching, not from memory, from instinct. Riverside Suites. Before it burned, the rooms were numbered with hand-stamped brass tags. 314 was at the far end corner unit. Julia and Jordan never booked it, but you did. 7 years ago. You pull out your old precinct travel log. Your entry for that week is gone. The page is torn neatly along the binding, but the entry before and after remain. You call dispatch. Ask if the Riverside fire files are still archived. The voice on the other end hesitates. Only partials. Electrical failure destroyed most. You sure you want to go down that rabbit hole? Sir, you hang up and drive. The Riverside Suites are nothing now. Charred foundation, fence half fallen, but the maintenance shed out back, still intact, padlocked. You slide the key into the rusted lock. It clicks. Inside dust, rot, a crushed folding chair, and in the corner, an old metal filing cabinet, top drawer jammed. You yank until it gives. Inside, a manila folder labeled 314, a photo of you, standing outside the room, dated 2 days before the incident. A duplicate of Jordan's confession tape, except the label reads ALTC. You press play on the battered cassette recorder lying beside it. It starts differently. Jordan's voice sharper, more aware. They made me say it, but you already knew that. Then Silence. Then you were there, too. You just chose not to remember. The tape ends with static and something else. You slow it down to 50% speed. A faint voice, layered beneath the hiss. D3414 unlocks more than just doors. Your phone buzzes again. No ID. This time, a photo. Your desk. Tonight. Except you're sitting at it. But you're not there. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones with keys to places they swore they never entered. It was never about the key. It was about what it opened inside your memory. The file you thought was destroyed. Your hands shake slightly as you turn the key, again this time, in your own apartment door. The silence inside feels unfamiliar, like someone's been rearranging the air while you were gone. Everything is where you left it, but something's off. A picture frame is tilted 5 degrees. The drawer you always lock, clicked closed, but not secured. And worst of all, the smell. Fresh toner, paper dust, ink. You rush to your filing cabinet. The folder you burned 6 years ago is back. Case 83GR. Red label. Char-marked edges. The last folder that ever made you question yourself. You open it slowly, half expecting it to vanish. Inside, a printed transcript of an interview with Julia Merrow, a photograph of her, post-mortem, except her eyes are open, and a sticky note in your handwriting that reads, "Do not reread this. You promised." But you do. You read every word of the transcript, and you realize this version is different. In this one, Julia names the officer who brought her in for questioning. It wasn't Jordan. It wasn't you. It was Detective R. Hasker. He was transferred after the fire, supposedly retired, disappeared off the grid. But here's the twist, the part your memory rejected. You and Hasker were partners for 3 years. You shared desks, cars, cases. You even recommended him for commendation. And yet, you can't remember his face. Just an impression, like a smudge in your mind. You dig deeper. A black and white photo falls out of the folder. Hasker, Julia, and you, standing in front of the precinct's old archive room, all smiling. There's writing on the back. One of us remembers. One of us regrets. One of us rewrites. And then your phone buzzes again. Unknown number. He's still on the payroll, but under a different name. You cross-check the current roster. There's a Ronald H. Carrick in records. Joined 2 years ago. No photo on file. No previous employment listed. You call his extension. No answer. You listen to his voicemail greeting. If it's about the clock, it's already too late. Your stomach drops. You reach into your pocket. The cracked mirror shard from Marris still vibrates faintly, like it's alive. You hold it up. Behind you, in the reflection, someone stands. You turn. Nothing. But the air smells like fire and toner again. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who erase names but leave ghosts behind. It was never about the file. It was about the version of truth you weren't supposed to reread. The face in the photo that wasn't hers. You spread the evidence across your floor like a tarot reading the photograph from the archive. The cracked mirror shard. The cassette labeled ALTC. And now a second image tucked in the back of the reappeared case folder. This one's older, color washed, edges curling. It looks like Julia, but it isn't. Same scar under the chin, same shade of auburn hair, same dimple when she smiles, except her eyes are green, not brown, and she's wearing a badge. You squint at the shoulder patch, Riverside County Sheriff's Office. Badge number 093H, Julia was never law enforcement, but this woman was. You scan the photo's edge. There's a name scratched in Penjay, Marrow, 2006, not Marrow, Marrow. You check every database, driver's licenses, criminal records, government employment, nothing on J, Marrow. You reverse image search using precinct software. One hit, an obit, Janice Marrow, died in a house fire in 2007. No family listed. Body charred beyond dental confirmation. Presumed accidental death. Cause electrical failure. Location, Riverside Suites, room 314. No, that can't be right. You cross-check dates. She died 10 months before Julia Merrow allegedly came into the precinct as a witness. Same hair, same scar, same smile, just a different name and different eyes. You flip the photo again. There's more writing now where there wasn't before. You're sure of it. They don't just hide bodies. They reassign identities. The lights flicker. Your laptop screen distorts for a split second, just long enough to flash a screen you haven't opened in years. An old precinct login. Username, pre-filled J. Marrow. Did it? You've never typed that. But the system welcomes you in like an old friend. Welcome back. You have one saved confession draft. You click. The file loads slowly. It's a transcription, not audio. You read the opening line. My name is Janice Marrow. I was never supposed to exist. You scroll down. Each paragraph contradicts a different piece of Julia's story. Different timeline, different witnesses, different crime. And at the bottom, they used me to build her. You whisper the phrase aloud, and suddenly your reflection in the dark monitor smiles back at you. Even though your lips remain still, you push your chair away, breath quickening. Your phone buzzes again. Message reads, "Don't trust her silence. She learned it from me." Attached is a grainy image, a mirror selfie. Julia. Only her eyes are green. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones wearing someone else's face. It was never about who she was. It was about how many times they rewrote her until the guilt fit. The room with no official blueprint. The Riverside Suites never had a room 314, at least not on the blueprints. You stare at the city's permit archive, scanned schematics flickering under your cursor. Rooms 301 to 313 are laid out in two neat rows, then a blank wall. No doors, no measurements, no exit, and yet you stood inside it. You held the key. You felt the weight of the door as it clicked behind you. You go deeper, pulling records from the county's zoning database. You find an architectural anomaly, a discrepancy in square footage. The motel's registered footprint is 400 square feet larger than what's drawn. Someone built a room, and someone erased it. You drive back to the ruins. Third visit in as many nights. Something's different. A pile of debris has been disturbed drag marks. Freshly shifted ash. You follow the pattern. It leads to a foundation corner where concrete once covered the crawl space beneath the floorboards. Now it's cracked, open. You crawl down. The air is thick with mold and old electricity. Your flashlight sputters, but holds. Then you see it, a steel door, embedded in brick, numbered with faint paint strokes, P14. Your key still works. Inside, untouched silence. Not ash, not smoke, but order. A metal table, a chair with one leg repaired crudely in duct tape, and on the far wall, a mirror, cracked. Everywhere else is dust and abandonment, but this mirror is clean, pristine, even in its fracture. It reflects you too clearly, and behind you, in the reflection, a woman. She's not there when you turn, only in the mirror. She steps forward and whispers something. You read her lips. You're almost done forgetting. You drop your flashlight. It flickers wildly across the ceiling. Carved into the concrete above you is a phrase, Room 314 built for unmaking. There's a sound behind the wall, mechanical, like an old projector winding up. A click, and then a light switches on behind the mirror. It's two-way. You're being watched. You look again at your reflection, but now your face is Jordan's. You blink. It's you again. You grab the mirror, trying to pull it from the wall. Behind it, hidden in the brick, there's something sealed in plastic. You tear it open. A cassette tape, written in blocky marker. Confession draft, numbered Odo. Play only in 314. You don't have a player, but you have a memory. You remember that voice, that scream, that moment when Julia's story broke down, and a phrase she never said until now, whispered again in the dark. He watched from the other side of the mirror. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who designed rooms to rewrite people. It was never about the blueprint. It was about what was built in silence, to erase the truth you lived. The voice that didn't belong to either. You take the cassette back to your apartment. Every second feels heavy now, like the air around you knows what you're carrying. You dig out an old recorder buried in a box marked Evidence, Do Not Use. You pop the tape in, press play. Nothing at first, then a low hum. The same 53 Hertz pulse that haunted Jordan's transcript and flickered behind Marisol's voice. It drones for nearly a full minute, and then a voice, female, calm, familiar, but not Julia and not Janice. You thought you were following guilt, but you were only circling the edges of your own. She laughs lightly, almost kindly. There was never a single story, just drafts, versions, attempts. You check the tape reel, it's only a 30-minute cassette, but it feels endless. I didn't confess to save myself. I confessed to make sure someone else wouldn't. Then a second voice bleeds in, male, warped slightly. Jordan, I told you the room wasn't real, but you stayed. You always stayed. The two voices overlap, arguing, sinking. At times, they echo one another, then contradict. Then something worse. They combine, twisting into a third voice. It's yours. This isn't about memory. It's about design. You were built to carry someone else's guilt. The audio glitches. You hear scraping like metal on concrete. Footsteps circling the recorder. Then a line spoken in complete clarity. Room 314 was not for him. It was for you. You hit stop. Your hands are trembling. You rewind. Hit play again. This time, the recording is different. Same tape. New content. It starts with your voice again, except it's not from the tape. It's you, speaking aloud without realizing. She didn't lie. She just told the version that left me in. And then silence. Except not. Your recorder lights flicker, and the voice returns. You recorded over me. The cassette ejects itself. You pick it up. It's warm. You flip it over. On the back, scratched into the plastic casing. Confession is a form of control. You stare into the mirror above your desk. Your face splits. Not literally, but in reflection. Two versions stare back. One calm, the other terrified. You blink. They don't. You check the cracked mirror from the crawl space again. The crack's grown wider. At its edge, just barely visible, is a shape, a keyhole. But your key doesn't fit. Not this time. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who confessed for someone else. It was never about who said it first. It was about who made sure the wrong truth stuck, the clock that ticks only for you. You wake to the sound of ticking, but there's no clock in your room, just the mirror, and the mirror ticks. You approach slowly, breath held like you are sneaking up on a bomb. The crack in the center pulses like a heartbeat. At the top corner, the mirrored glass has peeled slightly from the wall, revealing a sliver of something mechanical behind it. A gear, then another. The mirror isn't a mirror at all. It's a mechanism, and it's counting down. You place your ear against it. Beneath the steady tick, you hear a hum, not just mechanical, vocal, a whisper looped on repeat. You are not the first. You will not be the last. You pry further at the corner. The mirror resists, but it gives. Behind it, hidden in a recessed cavity, is an old timepiece pendulum, stilled. A gold pocket watch resting atop a reel of film. Taped to the watch is a slip of paper with a single line. Time is not linear. It's selective. You pocket the items. The phone rings. Landline. You don't have a landline. You let it ring 5 times. Pick up. What time did she confess? The voice asks. You answer 7:03 p.m. The voice exhales relieved. Almost. That's the version we kept. Before you can ask anything more, the line cuts. You sit at your desk and examine the film reel. Unmarked, fragile. You hook it into the only surviving player you own, manual crank, scavenged from a precinct junk sale years ago. The film begins. Black and white, grainy, room 314. You see yourself. You're seated at the metal table. Across from you, Julia, or maybe Janice. She doesn't speak, but you do. You say, "Tell them I left the room before it started." She leans forward and presses a button on a recorder between you. "Say it again, for the record." You do. Then you hand her something. A badge. Your badge. She nods, tucks it in her coat, and walks out. On screen, your version of you just sits there, silent, still, until the reel runs out. You rewind it, watch it again. This time, Julia isn't there at all. Just you, talking to no one. You blink, but now you're not sure which version was real. You pick up the pocket watch. It's ticking again. The second hand moves only when you watch it. You close your eyes. Silence. You open them. It ticks. You try to remember if you ever actually left room 314. You can't. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who measure time not by seconds, but by stories. It was never about when she confessed. It was about who was holding the watch when she did. The witness who was never called. The precinct hallway echoes louder tonight. Your boots scuff on tile that feels waxed with silence. Every door you pass is cracked just slightly open, like 100 mouths waiting to whisper your name. You enter the records room. Midnight protocol means the night clerk is gone, and the cameras loop the same 10-second footage, an old trick, one you trained the rookies to spot. Now, it covers you. You search for Trial 83GR's full witness list, not the sanitized version made public. It's not in the case file, not in the logs, but someone marked the edge of an unrelated file. See Appendix 314. Appendix 314 doesn't exist, not digitally, but you recall a time when case notes were handwritten and buried in the floor-to-ceiling archive. You find a dusty lockbox mislabeled confiscated prop evidence. You crack it open. Inside, a weathered stenographer's notebook, a half-melted exhibit tag, and an index card with a single name, Eloise Trellman, occupation court-appointed interpreter, role witness, verbal context override. You freeze. Julia never mentioned an interpreter. Neither did Jordan, but the voice on the confession tape, the one that broke into your cadence, mid-testimony, wasn't yours. You dig for Eloise's contact records. Nothing in the system, but one piece of paper tucked into the back of the notebook changes everything. An address, a note. She remembers, better in sign language. You find her just outside city limits. An old row house with broken porch lights and newspaper stacked on the stoop like it's been forgotten by time. You knock. No answer. But the door opens. Inside, a single lamp glows over a table littered with VHS tapes and sticky notes. In the corner, a woman watches an old security feed. The footage, room 314. She doesn't react to your voice. So you try something else. Basic ASL. You were the witness. She nods, points to her throat, then gestures. They erased what I heard. She picks up a tape labeled verbatim, Julia 314 pre-cut, and slides it into a clunky TV VCR combo. Julia sits in the room, eyes down, hands shaking, but her voice is clear. I'll say whatever keeps him safe. Then silence. She signs to the mirror, not to a person, but to the reflection. You pause the tape, rewind, play again. She signs the same sequence, clearly, deliberately. Eloise translates in quick finger motions. The truth is in the silence between. Your heart pounds, not just because of the message, but because in the reflection, you are watching her, wearing someone else's jacket, not yours, not Jordan's. A badge gleams under the collar. R. Hasker. You turn to Eloise. She's signing again. This time you didn't remember, because you weren't meant to. You pick up a note left on the table in her handwriting. I wasn't a witness. I was the last editor. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who were told to stay silent professionally. It was never about what she said aloud. It was about who was fluent in what was left unsaid. The badge number that never existed. Back at your apartment, you dig through the badge logs again. You start with the photo. R. Hasker. Badge number 721111B. You've searched it before, and the system always returned the same thing, record not found. But you never thought to search the number instead of the name. So you do. Badge 7211B. Result, active, current assignment. Evidence Integrity Division. Clearance level, red 7, holder redacted. You freeze? There's only one clearance level above red 7, and it doesn't show up in local precincts. That's federal. But this badge was issued locally, 21 years ago, and its retinal lock access was updated just last week. Someone is using a dead man's ID. You backtrack further. Authorization chain, internal logs. Most are blacked out, except one digital note embedded in an old system backup, dated the morning after Julia's confession. A single line note: if he starts remembering, assign him to cold cases. You sit back. The transfer? The sudden shift in your duties, the reassignment from active interrogation to archival detective work wasn't a promotion. It was containment. You weren't trusted to forget. You were programmed to. You stare at your own badge. You realize something unsettling. You don't remember being issued it. No ceremony, no paperwork. Just one day, it was in your hand, and the number 7212B, one digit off, sequential, issued minutes apart. You check your personnel file. No issuing officer listed. No signature. Your photo is there, but the background is wrong. Not the station wall. It's the wall from room 3114. You pinch the bridge of your nose. Try to focus, but something slides loose inside your memory. Not a repressed detail. A loop. A sequence you've lived before. Standing in the room, handing Julia your badge, watching her walk out. Only you weren't in the room. You were in the hall, watching through the mirror. The reflection wasn't yours. It was hers. And the smile she gave you, it wasn't gratitude. It was permission. Permission to carry the weight for her. A trade. A confession absorbed. The truth exchanged like currency. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who carry two badge numbers and only one life. It was never about solving the crime. It was about ensuring someone else paid the price for remembering it. The photograph that developed in reverse. You wake to find the envelope on your kitchen counter. You didn't put it there. Plain manila, no stamp, no return address, just your name, written in shaky block letters like a child or someone impersonating one. You open it. Inside a single Polaroid, fresh. The image hasn't fully formed yet. It's still fogged with chemical haze. You set it down, watching as the picture bleeds into clarity inch by inch, like a truth trying to claw its way out of denial. First, the background sharpens. Room 314. You feel your stomach turn. Then the figure. A man, standing in the corner of the room, partially turned away, face unclear. He's holding a mirror in both hands, angled slightly down toward a woman seated at the metal table. You think Julia, but as the photo sharpens further, you notice it's not her, it's you, and your eyes are closed. The man is lifting the mirror toward your face, like an offering, like he's letting you see something you won't survive. At the bottom of the Polaroid, scrawled in ink, you agreed to forget. This is the breach. The air in the room shifts, denser, like something old just woke up beneath your floorboards. You turn the photo over. More handwriting, different pen. The first confession created the story. The second one locked it in. This is the third. You pace the room, retracing your steps from the past 24 hours. Everything's tightening like someone's winding a clock behind your eyes. You pull the cracked mirror from under your bed and prop it upright. The reflection is wrong again. You blink. The man from the photo is behind you in the reflection only. He raises the mirror again, but you're not holding it. He is. And then you realize the mirror isn't showing now. It's showing before. The moment of trade. The switch. Your badge is gone in the reflection. She has it. You remember the words she whispered to you as she slipped it from your chest. They won't believe you if you say you saw me. You whispered something back. I won't say anything. Just promise to keep him out. Her silence was the promise. Her smile was the deal. The trade wasn't guilt for innocence. It was memory for protection. And now, you've begun remembering too much. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who develop the truth after the frame is taken. It was never about what was captured. It was about what you agreed not to see until now. The letter that wasn't written by her. You find it inside the file drawer, labeled closed, do not resubmit. Tucked between old case folders and brittle manila envelopes is a sealed letter. Your name again, but this time typed, precise. The return address is a ghost, 314 Memory Review Board. You slice it open with your old precinct knife. Inside a single page. No signature, no salutation. Just words that hit like confession and warning all at once. Truth is not recovered. It's permitted. You were not authorized to reopen the sequence. Witness realignment is in progress. Prepare for narrative collapse. You read it again, then flip the page. On the back, handwritten in red ink, barely legible. This isn't her handwriting. You knew that already. Your hands are shaking. You pull out Julia's original statement from the confession archive something you haven't looked at in weeks. You compare the loops of a YS, the slant of her RS, they don't match. None of it matches. You've been reading a version of her story doctored. Someone wrote it to look like her, to feel like her. But the original, you dig deeper. Behind the confession transcript is a second page, one you somehow never noticed. Faded, carbon copy, barely visible. It's not a statement, it's a request. I submit this testimony only under coercion. I have been instructed to remember selectively. Do not hold him responsible. He only believed what I let him see. And at the bottom, S. Tell the one behind the mirror, I forgive him. You feel the air leave your lungs. This was never about guilt. It was about choreography. You were cast as the detective. She was cast as the witness. But behind the scenes, someone else pulled the strings. And now, the letter in your hands changes again, ink warping. A line appears that wasn't there before. You're not reading this. You're remembering it. You hold the paper to the light. There's more. A watermark in the shape of a cracked mirror. Inside it, a number. You check your reflection in the nearest window. The room behind you doesn't match the one you're in. In the reflection, you're holding a gun, and someone sits in front of you, cuffed, silent. Julia. No, that's you. What if you've been the suspect all along? You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who hand you letters meant to activate the version of you they need. It was never about what she said. It was about who wrote her lines. The room that wasn't on the floor plan. You break into the precinct at 3:47 am, not through a locked door, but through a missing hallway. There's no blueprint for it, no digital record, but you remember, faintly, from an old fire drill when you first joined the force, a service stairwell that led to a janitor's closet, except the closet was too large, and its echo went deeper than walls should allow. You walk past the archive room, past the cold case bulletin board, then a narrow door that hasn't been opened in years groans under your touch. No lock, just dust. Inside a service corridor that slopes down slightly, the air grows colder, lights flicker, not overhead, but from behind the walls like fluorescence trying to break through plaster. At the end, a keypad, numbers worn, smeared. You press 3, 1, 4. The door clicks. You step inside. It's room 314. But not the version you remember. Not exactly. Same layout, same table, same 2 chairs, but no mirror. Instead, the wall where the mirror once was is now entirely covered in photographs, faces, yours, Julia's, Jordan's, Janice's, Eloise's, some labeled, some crossed out. In the center of the collage, a Polaroid of you, but from behind. You're looking at a screen, and on that screen is room 314. It's infinite, a recursion, a loop of surveillance, watching surveillance. You reach for it. The paper burns cold. On the back, in handwriting you now recognize as your own. If you see this version, it's already happening. You sit in the chair. The table is warm. Underneath, taped to the metal, is a voice recorder. You press play. The static crackles, and then your voice again. She didn't confess because she had to. She confessed because I told her to. A pause. Then I needed someone to say it. Anyone. Just to end the trial. The voice grows shaky. But I didn't think she'd carry it this long. You rewind. Play it again. Same voice. But this time, the final line changes. But I didn't think I'd carry it this long. You look across the table. The opposite chair is no longer empty. You blink, and in the space of that breath, you're no longer sitting. You're standing, watching yourself replay the tape. You're both observer and observed. The loop is almost complete. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who build rooms to bury truths just deep enough to make them feel safe. It was never about which room it happened in. It was about who made sure the floor plan never showed it. Word count 198. Awaiting, continue. Ban Danoi, continue. ChatGPT Danoi. Section 19. The audio tape that played your thoughts. You bring the recorder home. You shouldn't. But logic hasn't been guiding your actions for several nights now. Only echoes. You sit at your desk. The city hums outside your window. A low lullaby of headlights, sirens, and sins no one will ever confess to. You rewind the tape. Again. Play. Your voice comes through. Quieter now. Distorted, like someone recorded it through a wall. She said she'd take the blame, but I should have stopped her. Rewind. Play again. She said she'd take the blame, but I should have stopped her. But then, no rewind. The tape continues. And now, I don't know whose voice this is anymore. You jerk back. You never recorded that part. You fast forward. Stop. Play. You're listening because part of you already suspects. That's why you kept everything. Pause. The tape clicks and whirs, but the reel isn't spinning. You open the recorder. There's no tape inside. It was never playing. It was remembering. You walk to the mirror. Your reflection doesn't move right away. It waits. You speak. It doesn't. But the moment your lips stop, it's begin. You blamed her because it was easier than blaming yourself. You step closer. You needed a story where you were still the detective, still the one chasing justice. You slam your hand against the glass. It cracks again. Same fracture as before. Same line down the center like a division of guilt, of identity. You whisper, I didn't ask her to lie. The reflection answers, no. But you never stopped her either. You pick up the old case folder, Trial 83GR. Inside, taped to the back cover, a final photograph. Julia, standing beside someone, her arm around their shoulders. It's you, but younger, and not in uniform. You're in court, in the defendant's seat. You're smiling. She is not. Written in pen along the bottom. Version 1. She took the stand. You flipped the photo. On the back version 2, you took the badge. The truth was hidden in her silence, but your guilt screamed through your promotions, your forgetfulness, your desperate need to be the investigator, not the story. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who listen to thoughts they never meant to admit out loud. It was never about catching the criminal. It was about running far enough from your own confession that no one would suspect it was you all along. The final statement that changed nothing. You return to room 314, not because you expect redemption, not because you're looking for closure, but because you're ready to stop hiding from the version of yourself that never left this room. The air is still, unnaturally so. There's a single file folder on the table now, unmarked. You sit, open it. Inside one sheet of paper, typed, clinical, final testimony, officer, redacted, confession assisted in structuring witness testimony, motive narrative coherence, risk, secondary guilt, displacement, status case deemed self-resolving, no further investigation recommended. You trace the words with your finger. There's a fingerprint smudged into the lower right corner. Yours. Hard to say anymore. Then you notice underneath the page a photograph. It's the moment of Julia's confession. Her eyes red, her hands folded like a schoolchild. But next to her, not a detective, not a lawyer, a mirror. And in its frame, you, not today's version, the one from years ago. You're not looking at her, you're looking at yourself. Behind you, another figure enters. You recognize the jacket, the badge, the file in hand, but not the face, because there isn't one. It's blurred, like someone scrubbed it out with memory bleach, or you refused to see it when you had the chance. You hear the door open, this door, in real time. You turn, no one, but your chair is still warm. You rise and check your reflection. It doesn't move until it speaks. This was never about solving anything. It was about who could carry the weight of the lie the longest. You touch the glass. It feels like skin. You whisper, "Did she know?" The reflection blinks, smiles. She always knew. That's why she left it for you. You notice the folder again. This time, it's changed. The label now reads Case Zero Confession. Recovery Protocol underneath it, scrawled in rushed handwriting, for him when he's finally ready to stop pretending. You walk out of the room. No one stops you. No alarms sound. Because the system doesn't punish those who forget it, only resets them. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who tell the story. It was never about the crime. It was always about the version of it you could live with. You closed the door behind you. Not room 314, not the precinct, just a door unlabeled, unremarkable. The kind of door no one notices until it's the only one left. The hallway is empty. Your shoes echo with every step, but they're not footsteps of pursuit anymore. They're yours, and now they finally sound like it. Outside, the sky is the kind of black that makes even neon look tired. The city exhales. You sit on a bench you didn't know was there yesterday. The street lamp above you hums faintly, like it's trying to remember how to shine. You think about her, Julia, not the version in the file, not the voice on the tape, the real one, the one who knew this day would come and chose to stay silent anyway, not out of fear, out of mercy. The truth she carried would have broken you, so she whispered a story instead, one you could survive. Until now. Now it's your turn to hold it, not to speak it, just to carry it. Some stories aren't meant to be confessed, they're meant to be witnessed. And in doing so, they lose just enough of their sharpness that maybe, just maybe, you can live with them. You watch the fog curl around the pavement. Let the stillness settle like a blanket across your shoulders. The guilt doesn't go away. It just goes quiet, like a photograph turned face down on a table. You feel safe now, but not certain. And maybe that's the only honest feeling left. Because not every case needs to close. Some just need to be laid to rest gently and in silence. End of script. Sleep well and watch your back.